Welcome back and happy Saturday, everyone. I'm your host, Jennifer Bukowsky, and I'm joined by another Jennifer who's an expert on Ayn Rand, and she's going to tell us about a new comic book of Ayn Rand's famous work, The Anthem. Welcome to the show, Jennifer Grossman.
Oh, it's great to be here, Jen.
So you're head of a think tank that's devoted to Ayn Rand's philosophy. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. It's called the Atlas Society. It was founded 30 years ago by David Kelly, the Princeton-trained philosopher. And I was recruited next month. It'll be 3 years ago to run it. And it's like my total dream job. I've been driving around in a succession of cars, all of which have an Ayn Rand license plate. My library is totally filled with Ayn Rand books. So I just, being an objectivist, I don't quite believe in miracles, but it was just definitely an offer I couldn't refuse. And I've been able to do a lot of really creative things. I had been at the Cato Institute about 20 years ago as a director of education policy, and then I went into the business world for the next phase of my career. So coming back into this space and having that perspective and seeing that's really nothing had changed, even though we now had just this vastly reduced cost of transmitting ideas, and that's really what think tanks are supposed to be in the business of, is the idea business. So I decided to leverage some new technologies and also, we're small, so try to find a niche that we could dominate, and a more artistic approach, more visual approach to communicating these ideas was where we launched and where we've been focusing.
Wonderful. If you're just joining us, I'm your host, Jennifer Bukowsky, and I'm talking to Jennifer Grossman, who's head of a think tank called the Atlas Society. And we're going to be talking about the new graphic novel that they've released of Ayn Rand's famous work, Anthem. And just so you know, Jennifer, I'm a big fan of everything you're doing at the Atlas Society, especially your animated videos. I think it's so important to reach new audiences with these extremely important ideas in a way that fits the attention span of people here in today's time, because Ayn Rand can get a little wordy, can't she?
Yeah, for today's consumption habits, I think. But Anthem, her classic 1938 novella, was just 74 pages. I mean, it's like an afternoon's reading. Mm-hmm. And so that, to me, seemed a perfect vehicle to try to represent in a more graphical presentation. But also, I will say this about Ayn Rand. I mean, she showed the way. To me, looking at how she really had her major impact, it was as an artist. She, in her novels, recreated reality according to her values. She was a great storyteller. And so I just said, well, how do we just be artistic? How do we present our vision of reality in a more artistic format? And that's informed the kinds of vehicles that we've chosen to produce.
I think it's so cool. And I think you're right. Ayn Rand would approve of your approach, because she is so artistic and creative in the way that she presents her ideas. I think it's more powerful the way she does it, because her stories stuck with me and had a huge impact on my life. As when I think about what shaped my worldview, it's things I learned through reading fiction that I stick with me longer than, treatises or textbooks. And so I think the way that she presented her works and the way that you're continuing that legacy is great. And I have a personal thing I'd like to share with the listeners, if it's okay with you, about this graphic novel comic book of Anthem that you released. When I brought home copies of it to give to my kids, they said, "Why is there a naked person on the cover of this book?" And I was just kind of ashamed that I did as their mother, did not notice that the two figures on the character were technically naked. But now you have a new cover on the graphic novel. Is that right?
Yes, and I don't know if that would have happened without you. So, I mean, I just, yeah, that totally passed me by. And I guess also, there are covers that of Atlas Shrugged and The Fountainhead. I mean, that they're more stylized, but they're, not people wearing clothes. So yes, we did change that cover, but there is a little bit of nudity in the book, and that has caused us issues. Kind of surprisingly, because we have the physical graphic novel, which is now available on Amazon, and actually 20% off in celebration of Ayn Rand's birthday month this February. But we said, well, what else can we do? This artwork is so compelling. What else can we do with it? So we found a way to animate the artwork, commission a score of music, and get voiceovers. And we then created an 18-part web series based on the graphic novel. And the reason I'm mentioning that with regards to the nudity is that there was a couple of scenes in there we're not showing, anything like frontally or whatever, but that the characters don't have clothes on. And that actually caused us a big headache on Google and got the video suppressed. So
interesting. It didn't even strike me as nudity because it was so statuesque and tastefully done. But I guess to an 11-year-old boy, they're going to be a little more sensitive to things like that and less, drawn to the words Ayn Rand and Anthem like their mother was. But I think it's good that you, I like the new cover, which depicts, the famous, can you tell us about it? What it depicts on the new cover?
Yeah. So the original cover was really almost like a Statue of Liberty type of image, but it was the heroine and the hero, the two protagonists kind of holding up a light. And that is, again, similar to a bit of the aesthetic that you find on some of the other classic, longer Ayn Rand books. And, we weren't showing really anything, but it like for an 11-year-old who would like to read the book, we realized, thanks to a mother like you, that maybe that was not the best. So there is a spoiler alert here, but there is a climactic scene where it's an action scene where the hero takes this revolutionary invention, kind of, reminiscent of John Galt's, and he has a breakthrough on multiple levels. He has a moral, philosophical, spiritual breakthrough in that he stops trying to serve others that are actually wish him dead and are frightened of the good that he's bringing. But he actually has another physical breakthrough of breaking out of the collective, out of this prison-like society.
Well, I wonder what it was that sparked that epiphany. You'll have to go buy the Anthem on Amazon to find that out. It's well worth it. A great book. And Ayn Rand just strikes me as a potential time traveler. She's so prescient. Do you notice anything occurring today that it almost seems like she predicted, Jennifer?
Well, how about the Green New Deal?
Yeah.
How about calls for confiscatory taxation going back to levels that were like pre-Kennedy, practically. So, and she was, I think, prescient. This is one thing that people don't get. Across the board, they say, well, hey, it's been tried before. Socialism doesn't work. Just look at the facts. Just look at history. Look at Venezuela, this, that, and the other thing. Facts are not as persuasive as appeals to fairness, particularly in a time right now where, facts have been devalued. The very concept of truth and reality has been devalued. So Ayn Rand knew that you needed a moral defense, a new morality not a return to old morality, but a new morality, morality of individualism, of self-interest. And that was her secret weapon. She knew that was the only thing that was going to really be able to fight the collectivist appeal, the mystic collectivist appeal. And so that's what we're continuing to try to do.
Well, thank you for that important work. Individualism is the epitome of what we should be striving for instead of this identity politics. Thanks for joining us, Jennifer Grossman. I hope to have you back on in a future episode.